It's something that I'd never do. I'm falling in love with you. All of my life, it seems I have waited. Now I can say all these words I have stated are true. I'm falling in love with you. Woo-hoo. Falling in love with you. When you feel down and out, sing a song, it'll make you dance, yeah, yeah. You will have to shout about, sing a song, it'll make a way. Sometimes it's hard to care, sing a song, it'll make you dance. A smile is so hard to bear, sing a song, it'll make you dance. Sing a song, sing a song, sing a song, sing a song. Bring your heart to believe it. Sing a song, it'll make you dance. Love ain't proud of the tree, yeah. It'll make you way. Give yourself what you need. Sing a song, it'll make you dance. Smile, smile, smile and believe. Sing a song, it'll make you way. Now sing a song, sing a song, sing a song, sing a song.
KXRN LP, Laguna Niguel, Laguna Beach. KXFM on 104.7, kxfmradio.org.
Hello, this is Craig at KXFM 1047 Community Radio. Tune in, turn on to Rainbow Radio every Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon for a powerful and inclusive weekly program as we spotlight LGBTQ plus artists, authors, movie producers, community leaders, and cultural events in Laguna Beach. Again, Craig, every Sunday at 10 a.m., Rainbow Radio.
Hey there, what's up, Laguna? I'm Janice Murray. I must say, I am consistently inspired and amazed by what our town offers us. For example, right after Halloween is over and we have a lull before Thanksgiving, now we have the perfectly timed Laguna Beach Coast Film and Music Festival to fill our brains, our psyches, and our joy. November 9th through November 17th. More than 20 films are at 7 venues in town. You'll be hearing about all this weekend next, right here. But first, let's thank the participants who have cooperated on this. The Laguna Beach Cultural Arts Center, the Festival of the Arts, the Rivian South Coast Theater, the Hobie Surf Shop, Laguna Beach Beer Company, Troy Lee Designs, Wilbo, and La Vida Laguna for outdoor events like kayaking. For more information and tickets, go to coastfilmfestival.com. That's coastfilmfestival.com. Consider an all-access pass, November 9th through the 17th. And I'm Janice Murray for 104.7 KXFM, your community radio. Tune in, turn on, right here in Laguna Beach.
Janice Murray's broadcasts are sponsored by individual Laguna Beach residents who support public, nonprofit radio.
Tune in, turn on for Art Walking Radio, co-hosted by Craig Cooley, producer, and Leah Vasquez, creative director. It's all about nature nurturing culture as we explore the nascent disciplines of all the arts with guests and topics ranging from visual arts, performing arts, culinary arts, music and theater, to architecture and environmental sustainability. Join us every second Thursday of each month at 7 p.m. for Art Walking Radio, KXFM 104.7 Community Radio.
This disclaimer is a statement notifying listening audiences that any opinions expressed on our shows are not representative of Laguna Radio Inc., its management, or its board of directors.
Way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dream of, dream really do come true. Someday you wish upon a star with the clouds are far behind. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dream that you did to oh, why can't I? Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dream that you did to oh, why can't
Why can't I? Good morning, Rainbow Radio here in Laguna Beach. It is November the 3rd, which is just 2 days short of November the 5th, which is the 2024 election. And it seems like, I think the world, and well, I shouldn't say it, many things seem to be on hold until after the election for some reason. I don't think it's for any substantial reason other than your attention span is so bombarded with what's going on in world politics and U.S. politics, and I don't know, other nations and dictatorships. And anyway, this Sunday morning program is dedicated to, I'm sorry folks, but dedicated to Election Day on Tuesday. And I have a lot of, I did a study. I thought I would do a little research and present some information that I think is relevant to all things considered when it comes to Election Day. Things like, what is the Electoral College? What is the Voting Rights Act? How many people voted over the years? Some interesting tidbits, I think, to keep in mind. If you haven't voted, you can still vote until Tuesday, I think the polls close at 8 p.m. Here in California. Don't quote me on that, but I know you can vote on Tuesday. And I should know that when the polls close. I do believe it's 8 p.m. on Tuesday. So the big picture about what the outcome may be is if certain states are taken by one candidate, swing states, that make it highly unlikely, no matter what else happens in all the other states as far as the count, then we'll probably likely have the results on Wednesday morning. If the swing states are close, then that could run it out for a week and some legal posturing and some legal things going on. So it's either going to be Wednesday morning or it's going to be a week. There's no in between, is what it sounds like to me, based on my research, which is not all definitive, but it's my own little research. As they say, no polls are accurate, and even polling after voting is not accurate because you don't know how many people actually ballot or voted by mail or voted by Dropbox. I voted by Dropbox, which is so convenient. I forget how many millions people have already voted, and we had a couple incidents of Dropbox being a problem, but out of all those votes, that's like 1/10 of 1/100th of 1%. So I think voting by ballot box is a perfectly sensible thing to do. And if you haven't, you can still have time to vote by ballot by Dropbox. Right here in good old California. And to think that your vote doesn't count, that brings up voting and some of the attitudes in California about, why vote? Because California is 20% in favor of the Democrat. And so it's our vote really doesn't count. And that's sad. And that brings up the Electoral College and how that works. I will have a deeper dive on the Electoral College as we move along. First of all, what's going on with Laguna Beach Pride and upcoming events? So far, the long-running event is Tuesday karaoke at 2:37. I do understand that there's some negotiations to bring in Dora and Tony there on a regular basis, which would be really nice. Perhaps on Sunday is what they're looking at. So as soon as we get more news on that, we'll put it on the website and let you know. Right now, you can always go to LagunaBeachPride.org and see what's going on as far as events in the community. So with that, with my decision to make this about a election day radio program, I'm going to play an introductory song that I think is appropriate.
Oh, beautiful. Heroes proved in liberating strife. Who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, make God thy gold refined, till all success be nobleness, and ever again divine. And you know, when I was in school, we used to sing something like this. Listen here. Oh, beautiful. comfortable, far spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain. But now wait a minute, I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know, God done shed his grace on thee. He crowned thy good. Yes, he did. Every brotherhood from sea to shining sea. You know, I wish I had somebody to help me sing this. America, I love you, America. You see, my God, he done shed his face on thee. You ought to love him for it, because he crowned that good. He told me he would. Every brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I thank you, Lord.
Wow, that was Ray Charles in America. I just love that version of that. Says it all with soul. So we were talking about the presidential election coming up on Tuesday, and you know, I think one of the prime things that we hold dear when it comes to electing a president or voting is that one person, one vote is how it works. So if someone gets elected, it's because they had the majority of the votes. Not so until you look at the Electoral College. So I want to talk about the Electoral College just a little bit. I ask first, how many U.S. presidential elections were won by candidates that did not have the most common votes when it came to the Electoral College? The most popular votes, I mean. So in U.S. history, there have been 5 presidential elections in which the candidate who won the Electoral College and thus the presidency did not receive the most popular votes. It began with the Wix Party. I thought Wix did websites. So anyway, that's a different Wix. In 1824, John Quincy Adams versus Andrew Jackson. Jackson had the more popular vote and Electoral College votes, but no majority in the Electoral College. So in this decision, went to the House of Representatives to choose Adams. So if the presidential Electoral College comes up again, and they could, it'd be an odd combination of states with their Electoral College votes for it to become the winning number for a president with the number of votes that determine that you're going to win is 270 Electoral College votes. And how does that work? Well, each state has a certain number of Electoral College votes based on popularity and a few other things, which I'll explain as I explain what Electoral College is. So the next time a president was elected where they didn't win by the popular vote, but they won with the Electoral College is in 1876, Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel J. Tilden. Tilden had more popular votes, but Hayes won the presidency through congressional compromise. That was a Republican president, by the way. The next one was 1888, Benjamin Harrison versus Grover Cleveland. Cleveland had more popular votes, but Harrison won the Electoral College, a Republican. In 2000, moving right ahead, it's a long jump. George W. Bush versus Al Gore. Gore had more popular votes, but Bush won the Electoral College after a Supreme Court decision, another Republican. I'm just reporting the number, the information. I'm not expressing an opinion. And in 2016, Donald J. Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Clinton had more popular votes, but by a couple million, but Trump won the Electoral College, another Republican. These cases underscore the role of Electoral College, which occasionally results in a winner who did not secure the most popular votes, which seems unright, if there's such a word as unright. So what is the Electoral College? Electoral College is a unique system that the United States came up with for electing the president and vice president, and the breakdowns of how it works. I asked for the pros and cons. So how it works, electors, each state has electors. Each state has a certain number of electors based on its congressional representation, the total number of its senators and representatives. There are 538 electors in total. So if you have, there's always 2 senators, but if you have, and representatives, the House of Representatives, of course, is based on population. So if your state has like population of 1 million, you have very few representatives, but you still get 2 senators. So if your state has 8 million in population, you get a lot more representatives and still the 2 senators. So that's how that works. Voting process. When citizens cast their votes for president, they're actually voting for a state of electors pledge to that candidate, which means it's a pledge, which I don't like that. I don't think it's a pledge. Anyway, majority to win. A candidate needs a majority of electoral votes, at least 270 to win the presidency. If no candidate receives a majority, the election is decided by the House of Representatives. And it can be Republican controlled or Democratically controlled, but they have to come to a decision. They got to work together. Pros for the Electoral College. Why would we want this system? It's a protection of minority interests, was, I think, the primary reason, in my opinion. It encouraged candidates to campaign in smaller states, preventing them from focusing only on populous urban areas. In other words, the rural areas feel quite a bit left out. Stability. I don't know about that. It can contribute to a stable 2-party system, which some argue helps streamline governance. And number 3, pro, is encourages national campaigning. Candidates must appeal to a diverse range of voters across the country, promoting national unity. And it discourages regionalism. It incentivizes candidates to build broad coalitions rather than focus solely on regional interests. So the cons, which is, to be fair, we need to show both sides. Disproportionate influence is a con. Well, that's a pretty big one. Smaller states have a slightly higher proportion of electoral votes relative to their population, which can lead to an unequal representation. A voter in California, for example, one of their votes might be the equivalent of 10 or 20 or 100 votes in another smaller state when it comes down to what the impact of each person voting. Kind of confusing, but anyway, disproportionate influence is the word there. Risk of faithless electors. Electors are not legally bound to vote according to the popular vote in their state. That's what disturbs me, which could lead to unexpected outcomes. So if one state just decides, well, we're not bound to show the popular vote, we're going to throw our votes to this candidate instead. And it could go from any party could do that. Any elected state official could do that and make those decisions. Winner takes all system is another con. In most states, the candidate who wins the majority of the popular vote gets all the electoral votes, which can undermine the value of votes in closely contested states. And potential for divergence, another con. A candidate can win the presidency without winning the popular vote, as seen in several elections, which I just identified, which raises questions about the system's legitimacy. Overall, in summary, the Electoral College is a complex mechanism with advocates and critics. Supporters argue that it helps balance interests across diverse regions, while detractors contend it can distort democratic principles. So that's the Electoral College. And I think the two things I find concerning is that the states can decide, we can have, as they said, faithless electors. They can decide irrelevantly that, okay, this state, we think we're going to go this way instead of that way. I don't know that it's happened, but it is, I don't know, like a sailboat with a weak bottom. Anyway, okay, that's it. I don't know if that's the best way to say that. So Electoral College is my understanding, and they don't identify it in here. Part of it was it would speed things up about determining who won the election, but I don't see that represented. So that is an important part of our how the process works, and 270 is the magic number. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was what are the primary components? We had a Voters' Rights Act in 1970, in the 60s, excuse me. And we all hear what that is, but what is it really? What does it include, and why do we have to have it? Doesn't everyone get to vote? And don't they always have everyone have an opportunity to vote? Well, it seems in some states where states are the federal government doesn't regulate the voting process in the states. It's assigned to the individual states to develop their own register of voters and have their own hierarchy. And that was intentional, and that seems to make sense. Each state should do their own thing. But in some states where they didn't like certain minorities, they would put what they'd call here, I'll read it to you. The Voting Rights Act of 1965, a landmark civil rights law aimed to eliminate racial discrimination in voting. Its primary components include the following. There's like 4 sections that they identify that are primary to the Voters' Rights Act. In Section 2, it prohibited voting practices or procedures that discriminate based on race, color, or membership in a minority language group. The section allowed a nationwide enforcement and has been used to challenge discriminatory voting laws. So if you spoke a certain language, you couldn't vote because, if it was a non-English language, I suppose. Section 5 required certain states and jurisdictions with histories of discriminatory practices, mostly in the South, to obtain federal pre-clearance before changing voting laws or practices. So if they decide to, say, put a tariff on voting, which some of them did, you had to pay a fee to vote. It had to go before the pre-clearance level of the federal government to determine whether it was discriminatory or not. This provision prevented discriminatory changes and was a powerful tool until 2013, when Shelby County versus Holder, the Supreme Court decision, which effectively invalidated the pre-clearance formula. So no longer do you have to get permission from the government to change your rules and make sure that it's, certified, make sure that it is fair and equitable. But we're so much more visible now with the internet. That brings another topic. I'm wandering a little bit here, but I really, this election is year, I think, is unlike any others that have ever preceded it in so many profound ways. I think for 30, 40, 50 years, elections were pretty unchanged in so many ways. But with social media and visibility like it is, and quick, direct communications back and forth on every level, sharing of information, videos, photos. Boy, it's put a whole new spin on everything. And the news, of course. But I digress. Section 4 of the Voters' Rights Act, 4B to be specific, established the coverage formula determining which areas needed pre-clearance based on past voting discrimination and low voter turnout. The Shelby County decision invalidated this formula, limiting Section 5's enforcement. So that was still Section 5. It's gone. They don't have to do the pre-clearance. Section 203, which was later added, this section requires certain jurisdictions to provide language assistance, in other words, ballots and election materials, to voters with limited English proficiency, helping ensure accessibility for non-English speakers. Okay. The act had a transformative effect, removing discriminatory practices like literary tests, which was another one, a poll tax, which was another one, enabling millions of minorities to exercise their voting rights more freely. It has been amended several times to expand protections and address new challenges. So I think it was Lyndon Baines Johnson, I think, was a big proponent of that, and in the 60s, and he got it through Congress, and they all voted on it, and it was all good. And I think now, if there's voter intimidation or problems, it's so much more visible that maybe some of the provisions of the Voters' Rights Act are, less important. But nonetheless, it's the bottom line, and it's a part of our world to make sure that we're all protected and all have the freedom to vote. And I think that's a wonderful thing. What else do we have here? I was curious about another thing, and let me say this. Let me say this about elections being close. I have this theory, and it's just a theory. It's a Cooley theory, and they said I can have opinions on KXFM and Rainbow Radio, but I think it behooves the media to assure the nation that it's a close run, whether it is or not. And I do think it's going to go one way or the other pretty strongly when it really comes down to it. But it's kind of like get everyone excited and going back and forth and embroiled in it, because it's the media. It gets attention. It gets more people watching. It gets more commercial advertising. It's more money making than if the election was boring and well, so and so's got it in the bag. Big deal. It's over. But it's like a sports game. The games that are pretty, one's going to win and one's going to lose. The attendance is poor. The fewer beers are sold, fewer hot dogs are sold, and I think that's a good comparison. If it's a tight game, everyone shows up and yells and screams and gets all excited, and they drink beer and eat hot dogs and pay for more tickets, and the attendance and the whole audience is a very profitable commodity. Okay. I don't know if that's right the way he said that, but anyway, it makes more money. So I think an election is similar. I mean, if it were a one-sided election, it would be pretty boring. So let's hype this up to the max as much as we can. I do think that is part of it. But I also think this is a really important election. But nonetheless, I want to temper it with I do feel there's some media interest in making certain that it's close or perceived as being very close, because there goes, that's, more, more advertisers, more listeners, more income. And so we'll see. I do think, though, this election is terribly, terribly important. Okay, what was the next topic I wanted to know about? And I thought it would be nice to know how many people vote, you know, and how has it changed over the years. So I asked, what's the percentage of the total population vote in a presidential election since 1900? So I find this now, while the population was much less, I think it's still important to give it in percentage. How many people of the population, whatever it was in the United States in 1900, how many of them voted? And I found it very interesting that in 1900, 73.2% of eligible voters voted. Well, no, of the population. Not eligible, but of the population. And then it went down, and it continued down. 1904 was 65, 08 was 65, 1912 was 58, 1916 was 61, 1920 was 49, really low. And then in 1924, 48% voted. So it's been on a downhill spin. In 1932, 52%, started going back up. In 36, 56%, 1940, wartime, 58%. There was more people voting. I think there was more at risk. And in 1944, it went down a bit. In 1948, it went way down back down to 51%. 52, it went up to 61. I don't know what was going on in 1952. 56, 59%. Anyway, it kind of floats around 50%, up and down a bit. And let's get up to more current times. Let's go to year 2000. 50% of the population voted. That's a lot of votes because the population's gotten pretty big by then. 2004 was 55%. In 2008, when Obama was running, was 57%. And 2012 was 53%. In 2016, 54%. And in 2020, 62%. Still not the highest, which was in 1900. But anything around 60 is pretty strong. So I find that the percentage represents a portion of the voting age population that cast ballots in each presidential election. Notably, the 2020 election saw the highest voter turnout since the 1900s. Since 1900. Absolutely. So I don't know. I found that interesting. There were, in 2020, there were 158 million people voted in 2020. So there's another little tidbit of voter information. So I do have, I want to mix this up a little bit. I do have something that talks about politics. I love this song. It reflects the underlying drive for some candidates in some countries, which we'll get into. How many countries are democracies and how many with constitutions, and how many countries are autocracies or dictatorships in the world. I thought that was an interesting number. So I'll share that with you on the other side. But here's one of the song. Here's a song that may explain a great amount of motivation for elections.
Welcome to Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. And no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, or brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one.
And the world will live as one. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Oh, John Lennon and Yoko Ono Band. So that leads me into imagine with there's no religion, there's no politics. So I thought I'd ask this question to continue our little journey here this Sunday morning on Rainbow Radio. I ask, what are the percentage of world countries that have dictators versus constitutional democracies? Which I think that's important. I mean, we live here in the U.S. and we think, well, everyone must have a constitutional democracy, but there's a few that don't, like China. What was the answer to that? As of 2023, the global political landscape is divided between democracy and autocracies. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit's Democracy Index, 74 out of 167, so a little less than half, are classified as democracies. Accounting to approximately 44% of the total. The remaining 93 countries, or about 56%, are categorized as either hybrid regimes or authoritarian regimes, which can be considered forms of dictatorships. Similarly, the varieties of democracies project reports that 70% of the world's population, approximately 5.4 billion people, live under autocratic regimes. So that's less than pleasing, but I would like to think that more of the percentage of the world lives under fair and honorable democracies. But 70% of the world's population, approximately 5.4 billion people, live under autocratic regimes. Okay, so I found that. What is the percentage of the world's now? So if you talk about we're talking about autocracies and democracies, or dictatorships and democracies. I thought, well, from the standpoint of financial rewards or financial dynamics, which of those forms of government produce the greatest GDP, or gross domestic product? Which of those political, entities are financially the most rewarding? So I ask, what is the percentage of the world's GDP from countries that have dictators versus constitutional democracies? Dictators being autocracies. So in 2022, approximately 60% of the world's GDP is generated by countries classified as democracies. So while a majority of the people live in non-democratic, countries, or under 60% of the GDP, which is more than half, are generated from those democracies. So, I mean, it says when you are fair and equitable, your economy is going to thrive. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. For years, my understanding, if you wanted to invest in a country that has a dictatorship and there's favoritism and maybe some, which I'm not saying that the U.S. is perfect and got it all nailed down or dialed in. But if you're going to spend $20 billion in developing a manufacturing plant in a foreign country, you want to know that reasonably that it's not going to be seized by the government as property for the people. You want to feel comfortable that there are international laws and local laws and regulations and a government that is favorable towards being fair and equitable, as opposed to being oppressive and less than equitable. So there goes, more reason to invest in a country that's a democracy, maybe as part of the explanation there. So this distribution reflects a significant economic contributions of democratic nations, despite a larger portion of the global population residing under autocratic governance. Notably, major economies such as the United States, Germany, and Japan are categorized as democracies, whereas countries like China, Russia are considered autocracies. These figures highlight the complex relationship between political systems and economic output on a global scale. I found that very interesting. Again, it's comforting to me because, sometimes when all else fails, it comes down to the dollar, unfortunately, and what makes sense in that regard. But yeah, just moving right along here. So then I thought, well, if we're talking about politics again, and I wanted to ask this question: what political party has had the largest contribution to the national debt for the United States? Because that is a major concern. I mean, we got to pay our bills, and it would be nice in a perfect world that we develop such a thriving economy, built from the bottom up and the inside and the center out, that with that thriving economy that we can no longer have deficits and pay down the national debt, which deficits and national debt are different creatures. If you may not realize it, the national debt is like we have all our credit cards, but you can still not spend more than your income, which means that you balance your budget, but you still have so much debt you need to pay it down. So, and it is growing, and it is a concern because at some point it's got to be paid off, right? We can't just continue to spend. Determining which political party has contributed the most to the national debt is complex and depends on factors such as economic conditions, military conflicts, tax policies, and recessions. That said, the national debt has increased under both Democratic and Republican administrations. but with varying circumstances and growth rates. Here's a closer look at major contributions by recent decades. So, we all got to admit, I think that all the politics have tossed expenses or contributed to the national debt, and all the more reason for the different parties to get together and work together with that common goal to fix it somehow. And maybe a 15 or 20-year plan to get the debt paid down wouldn't be bad, or be nice it'd be shorter than that, but some kind of plan. And if there's no plan, I just don't think it will come. It's like So here are some of the contributors to the debt. Post World War II in the up to the 1980s, in the post-war years, the U.S. national debt as a percentage of the GDP was high due to wartime spending, but steadily decreased as the economy grew. So that's great to think that if the economy grows, the debt will go down, which that would be the ideal situation again. So Presidents Eisenhower, Republican, and Kennedy and Johnson, Democrats, generally saw modest increases, primarily in times of recession or specific social spending. So it was not a huge, I guess what they're trying to say was not as huge as one might suspect during that up to 1980. Then in the 1980s, the Reagan era, under President Ronald Reagan, a Republican, the national debt grew substantially, driven by tax cuts, increased military spending, and economic changes. Reagan doubled the debt, which rose from around $1 trillion to $2.9 trillion by the end of his term. So that is probably a really big one. In the 1990s, Clinton era, under President Bill Clinton, a Democrat, the debt growth slowed, and there was a budget surplus for a few years, I remember that. They still talk about it, due to tax increases, spending restraint, and economic growth. By the end of his term, the debt had grown by a smaller margin compared to previous decades. Moving along to 2000, the Bush era. President George W. Bush, Republican, saw significant debt growth due to tax cuts, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the Great Recession of 2008. By the end of his term, the debt had nearly doubled from $5.8 trillion to about $11 trillion. Ooh, okay, well, that's a big chunk. In 2010, the Obama era, under President Barack Obama, Democrat, the national debt increased substantially and due to financial crisis recovery efforts after the Bush administration, including the stimulation package, ongoing wars, and expanded healthcare spending. The debt rose from about $11 trillion to $19 trillion by the end of his two terms. So it went up about $9 trillion. Still not as much as Bush, but anyway. Let's go on to the Trump era in 2020. President Donald Trump, Republican, added significantly to the debt due to the 2017 tax cuts and substantial COVID relief spending in 2020. The national debt increased from around $20 trillion to nearly $27 trillion by the end of his term. Current era, Biden. President Joe Biden has seen further debt growth, primarily due to additional COVID-19 relief spending in his administration and infrastructure investments and other policy initiatives. So let's go on to the analysis and summary, because we are all over the place with debt, okay? Analysis and summary. Both parties have contributed significantly to the national debt at different points in history in recent decades. Republicans have often focused on tax cuts and defense spending, which tend to increase the debt. Democrats have focused on social programs and, in some cases, stimulus spending, especially during economic downturns. The largest proportional increase to the national debt occurred during the Reagan, Bush, Obama, and Trump administrations. But each faced unique economic challenges that influenced spending. Both parties have been major contributors, and with context often shaping the magnitude of the debt increases. So there you have it, the political party. It's a salad. It's a little bit of everything in there. So, a part of what tears us apart is to say, oh, so-and-so did this wrong, so-and-so did that. Everyone has done a few things, contributed. And I think as we move forward, we need to have a more room at the table to talk about things and sort things out. As Kamala Harris says, they're going to get a room at the table. I'm not going to be hateful. Everyone gets a seat at the table, so to speak. Yeah. So yeah, having said that, let's move on here a little bit. Lady Gaga and Bruno. I love this song.
I just woke up from a dream where you and I had to say goodbye. And I don't know what it all means, but since I survived, I realized wherever you go, that's where I'll follow. Nobody's promised tomorrow, so I'ma love you every night like it's the last night, like it's the last night. If the world was ending, I wanna be next to you. If the party was over and our time on earth was through, I wanna hold you just for a while and die with a smile. If the world was ending, I'd wanna be next to you. Oh, lost in the words that we speak. I don't even want to do this anymore, 'cause you already know what you mean to me, and all those the only war worth fighting for. Wherever you go, that's where I'll follow. Nobody's promised tomorrow, so I'ma love you every night like it's the last night, like it's the last night. If the world was ending, I wanna be next to you. If the party was over and our time on earth was through, I wanna hold you just for a while and die with a smile. If the world was ending, I'd wanna be next to you, right next to you, next to you, right next to you. If the world was ending, I'd wanna be next to you. If the party was over and our time on earth was through, I wanna hold you just for a while and die with a smile. If the world was ending, next to you. I'd wanna be next to you.
KXRN LP, Laguna Niguel, Laguna Beach. KXFM on 104.7. KXFMradio.org.
Hey there, what's up, Laguna? I'm Janice Murray with news. The Laguna Beach Coast Film and Music Festival starts this week. On Saturday, November 9th, the Rivian South Coast Theater will present a new documentary named Porcelain War, the story of 3 Ukrainian glass artists who stay and fight the Russian invasion of Ukraine. On Sunday, November 10th, the film The Last Repair Shop will debut at the Laguna Beach Cultural Arts Center from 6 to 8 p.m. Set in LA, it's about devoted artists who keep 80,000 musical instruments in good repair for students to discover playing music. Also on Sunday, November 10th, at the Rivian Theater from 7 to 9 p.m., see Explorations of Sight and Sound. Directed by Matt Costa, these videos document travel through the lens of music. Costa will perform live. To buy tickets for all these fabulous performances, go online to coastfilmfestival.com. And I'm Janice Murray on 104.7 KXFM. Tune in, turn on, in Laguna Beach.
Janice Murray's broadcasts are sponsored by individual Laguna Beach residents who support public, nonprofit radio.
Tune in, turn on for Art Walking Radio, co-hosted by Craig Cooley, producer, and Leah Vasquez, creative director. It's all about nature nurturing culture as we explore the nascent disciplines of all the arts with guests and topics ranging from visual arts, performing arts, culinary arts, music and theater, to architecture and environmental sustainability. Join us every second Thursday of each month at 7 p.m. for Art Walking Radio, KXFM 104.7 Community Radio.
This disclaimer is a statement notifying listening audiences that any opinions expressed on our shows are not representative of Laguna Radio Inc., its management, or its board of directors.
Whoa, continuing on the pre-election day, the last program before the election, I should say that I have to kind of protect myself and keep my guard up for whatever happens. The world will go on. And I think humanity will prevail in this world. And I don't want to be Debbie Downer because it's part of our political system. And it's been an experiment going on for 200 and so many years? I forget, 1776, 1876. 1976. So over 76 from 2025, whatever that is, that number. Add those years to 200, and there you are. There we are as this experiment. It's nice to know that most of the people, that 44% of the people live in a democracy that is under constitutions, and that's great. And I hope, my hope is that our Constitution, which was written over 200 years ago, but it was designed to be modified with amendments. The forefathers recognizing that not always constitutions are definitive. There should be some reasonable modifications. So there you go. We have so many amendments that have been added to it. But anyway, I digress. Let's focus on LGBTQ. After all, we are the rainbow here. So what major concerns for LGBTQ persons in regard to the 2025 plan? Now, the 2025 plan is a document, very controversial document we've all heard about, I'm sure. You'd have to have lived in a dark room for the last couple of years with no media to have missed out on it. Project 2025 is developed by the Heritage Foundation and other conservative organizations, outlines policy proposals that have raised significant concerns within the LGBTQ plus community. And these are the key areas of concern. Excuse me, a lot of talking this morning. The rollback of anti-discrimination protections is number one. And, it's not showing favoritism. It's not giving anyone special permissions or special rights or, all that other stuff. The plan advocates for the narrowing of the interpretation of sex discrimination laws, potentially excluding protections based on sexual orientation and gender identity. So if they pull that away, then that means that legally people can discriminate in employment and housing, which is not a good thing. We thought that was far, far, far behind us. This could affect housing, employment, housing, and health care rights for LGBTQ individuals. And number two, restrictions on gender-affirming care. Project 2025 proposes eliminating federal funding for gender-affirming health care. Excuse me. Which could limit access to necessary medical services for transgender and non-binary individuals. So any kind of health insurance through the Social Security or Medicare, none of it would be covered. And anyway, moving along to number 3, impact on LGBTQ plus youth and education. This is disturbing. The plan suggests amendments to the title, to Title IV, to enforce strict definitions of sex, potentially undermining protections for LGBTQ plus students. It also supports a federal level parents' rights Bill of Rights, granting parents increased control over educational content, which may lead to the exclusion of LGBT topics from the curricula. That's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, I do think parents have the right to make decisions regarding their children on many, many levels. And the only time the government should interfere is if what they're doing is harmful or illegal. But I think when it comes to content for education, what should supersede it all is the discrimination protections. The content should not discriminate. That's all. Let the kids or the parents decide what they want. It's information and it's there, but that it should discriminate should not be part of it. That's my response. Brilliant, Craig. Number 4, challenges to marriage equality. While Project 2025 does not explicitly call for the banning of same-sex marriage, it promotes policies favoring heterosexual marriages, such as directing federal funding to programs that define marriage exclusively as a union between one man and one woman. And moving along to number 5, elimination of diversity, equity, and inclusion, the DEI initiatives. So I've had this topic before. DEI is businesses establish a DEI component within their organization and I think it's very honorable. I think it is they want to be assured that they have no liability or risk in the way they run their business that shows that they discriminate. So a DEI department is some akin to, a safety department. We don't want to do something that would be contrary to fair and equitable employment. So we have a DEI to assure ourselves, whether it doesn't matter what it is, it's just non-discrimination. And which is a liability. They discriminate, they're liable on certain levels for so anyway, number 5, elimination of it is what they want. The plan aims to eliminate the DEI programs within the federal agencies, which could reduce support for LGBTQ employees and diminish efforts to promote inclusive workspaces. Okay, and in summary, the proposed measures have prompted LGBTQ plus advocacy groups to mobilize in defense of existing rights and to prepare for potential legal and political challenges. The implementation of Project 2025 policies could significantly impact the rights and the well-being of LGBTQ individuals across the United States. Get out and vote. Vote, vote, vote. Please vote. And so there you have the latest update. I'm going to, it's a beautiful day. Now, on another subject, we can't, I don't know, buy into the politics scenarios to the point where it's debilitating and frustrating. I think it is for a lot of people, and myself, I can find myself getting too drawn in and feel, but I do think there's some important things out there, and I do think we all need to vote, and we need to be make our own decisions and realize that when we vote and we're in that booth, it is our own decision, and no one has any influence. That's why the curtain is drawn. You make your own vote, and I think that's a very wonderful thing we have in our system of government, the vote. So anyway, it's a beautiful day with 64 degrees coming in. I think it's beach weather here in Laguna Beach. So with that, Katrina is here. Oh, wait, no. Wrong one. Here we go.
Every time I go for the mailbox, gotta hold myself down. Cause I just can't wait till you write me you're coming around. Now I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa. It's time to feel good. Hey, all right now. It's time to feel good. Yeah. I used to think maybe you love me. Now I know that it's true. And I don't want to spend my whole life just waiting for you. Now I don't want you back for the weekend, not back for a day. No. I said, baby, I just want you back, and I want you to stay. Oh yeah, I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, it's time to feel good. Hey, all right now, it's time to feel good. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's time to feel good. Walking on sunshine. Walking on sunshine. I feel alive, I feel alive, I feel alive, that's really real. I feel alive, I feel alive, I feel alive, that's really real. I'm on sunshine, baby. Oh yeah, I'm on sunshine, baby. Oh, I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, I'm
Katrina and the Waves, Walking on Sunshine. It's a beautiful day here in Laguna Beach. The next I'm going to do, just because I like the song and I like to play the songs I like. But, you can always get a request in here at KXFM on Rainbow Radio here. We do have a request line. It's on the website. It is kxfmradio.org. Anytime you have a request, we're always here. Yeah. Katie Lang.
Ladies and gentlemen, here she coming at you live.
Orville Peck.
Historic Stampede in Calgary. Beaming in from the plains of Manitoba. Direct from Diamond Tooth Gertie's in Dawson City. For one night and one night only. Here she is, folks, that big bone gal from southern Alberta. Massey Hall is proud to present the very talented woman you've all been waiting for. The Alberta Rose. Please welcome the very lovely one and only Miss Chatelaine.
Just a kiss, I have lived just for this. I can't explain why I've become Miss Chatelaine. Just a smile, hold me captive. Just a while. I can't explain why I've become Miss Chatelaine. Every time your eyes meet mine, clouds of Guam burst into sunshine. Just a sigh, words, my love, just a reply. I can't explain why I've become Miss Chatelaine. Just a smile, hold me captive just a while. I can't explain why I've become Miss Chatelaine. Every time your eyes meet mine, clouds of Guam burst into sunshine. Just a kiss, I have lived just for this. I can't explain why I've become Miss Chatelaine. Miss Chatelaine. Miss Chatelaine. Miss Chatelaine. Miss Chatelaine.
Ah, yes, it's that time again. As we roll in on this day in history, if there's not enough history being created out there as we speak here in Laguna Beach on this beautiful Sunday morning at about 11:15 a.m., November 3rd, 2 days before Election Day. let's get some history to put a little perspective on what all's going on in this world. And as of November 3rd, excuse me, November 3rd, in 1975, The Kennedy's Children, by gay playwright Robert Patrick, opens on Broadway at the John Golden Theater. It runs 72 performances. I never heard of Kennedy's Children. A gay playwright wrote it. Shocking. In 1975, the Wall Street Journal runs a front page story on the growing influence and success of The Advocate, and it is still around. It's a wonderful publication, the nation's leading gay publication. In 1992, in Colorado, 53% of voters approve amendment. This is not good. 2, it's an initiative banning state municipal rights for and all the ordinances that go along with it for lesbian and gay men. Their Family Values organization in more than 35 states begins campaigning for similar propositions. However, in Oregon, voters reject Measure 9, which is a similar amendment to Amendment 2. So good for Oregon. In 1998, Tammy Baldwin, a Democrat from Wisconsin, is elected to the United States House of Representatives. She is the first open lesbian and the first non-incumbent gay candidate to be elected to federal office. How about that? In 1998, voters in Hawaii approve Amendment 2, giving Hawaii state legislature the power to restrict marriage to mixed-sex couples. That's all changed, though. I lived in Hawaii. In 1989, Aaron McKinney is found guilty of murdering Matthew Shepard. He is sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms in prison. In 2009, Washington voters approve Referendum 71 to uphold the state's everything but marriage domestic partnership law with 53% of the vote. In 2009, Maine voters repeal the state's marriage equality law by 53%. Moving on to November 4th, on this day in history, in 1980, Barney Frank, he was a Democrat from Massachusetts. He's elected to the first term as a U.S. in the U.S. House of Representatives. He was very vocal, but he's just kind of not been so vocal lately, you know. What can I say? In 2008, California voters banned same-sex marriage with Prop 8, becoming the first U.S. state to do so after marriage has been legalized for same-sex couples. The amendments to California's Constitution passed by a margin of 52 to 47 and overturned the state Supreme Court's ruling in May in favor of same-sex marriage. But you know what happened to that one? I can attest. There's a whole story there. In 2008, Arizona and Florida voters passed constitutional amendments banning same-sex marriage. Yeah, go Arizona and Florida. I hope they turn blue this year. In 2008, Arkansas voters passed Act 1, which effectively bans adoption by same-sex couples by a margin of 54 to 41. Well, at least we got 41%. I hope that's changed in Arkansas. Moving along to November 5th on this day in history. In 1961, New York Times critic Howard Taubman launches an attack on the increasing evidence of homosexuality in the New York stage. There's homosexuality in the theater? Really? Shocking. Oh well. It happens. What it seems, homosexual motif gets heterosexual guys. In 1973, the Supreme Court of the United States in Wainwright versus Stone finds that sodomy laws in Florida are not unconstitutionally vague, reversing the Fifth Circuit ruling. Oh, they are very vague. In 1974, Elaine Noble becomes the first openly gay or lesbian individual to be elected to the state legislature of the United States when she is elected to the Massachusetts House of Representatives. And in 1992, a clause prohibiting anti-gay verbal abuse in schools is repealed Oh, isn't that lovely? It's repealed in Fairfax County, Virginia. Board of Education out of concerns that it promotes homosexuality. Oh, really? Boy, I mean, what a couple hours of therapy wouldn't do for them. In 2004, a judge in Saskatchewan rules that same-sex couples have the right to marry in that province. And in 2008, Strauss versus Horton, a legal challenge to Prop 8 is filed. And we all know what happened with that. So I think I'm going to take a spin here with Eddie Singletary. You've dialed in. How are you?
I've dialed Craig. I owe you an apology. I left you for dead last week. I left you for dead.
I said the trauma. I don't know.
I have to tell you. Do you want to hear my story?
Yeah. What happened? What the heck happened?
Craig, I know. I was just as
you don't have no
so
obligation. I'm just happy when you're here.
In my head, I was going to call from the car. I participated for the third year in a row in the hot dog Halloween parade in Long Beach. It's a dog parade that happens every Halloween. Yes. So I was driving down there because my sister and her community down there, she has this community of lesbian friends and straight friends, and they all kind of get together and they create a float every year. And last year they did Barky, which was like a takeoff on Barbie, and I was a Ken and my dog was a Barbie, and we won. And there's it's insane how many people show up to this thing. Our float won, and we won a year's supply of dog food for Sparky and the Gang, which is a dog rescue in Long Beach, right? So this year, So this year they were doing a Titanic theme, and I was racing to Long Beach, and I thought the parade started earlier, but it started or later, but it started earlier. I had to be down there by 11 to start getting ready because they wanted to they'd load the float over and take it over. There's there's 2,000 people lining the parade route to see this thing.
Oh, how fun though.
It was nuts. So guess what, Craig? We won again. We won a year. So I was gone for a good cause because I raised. Yes, I was gone for a good cause. We won, and we won a year's supply of dog food for Sparky and the Gang yet again this year.
I think we need a recount. I think there's some criminality in those votes.
You think we're fixing? You think we're fixing
voting machines? What's going on there?
Oh, you think Dominion had something to do with it?
Yeah, those. Wasn't a third world leader? Yeah, that messed up, put an algorithm in there to move the votes. Yeah.
Oh.
Just ask what's her face.
Well, yeah, just ask her. She'll tell you. She'll tell you all about it.
Yeah, exactly. She's still trying from prison.
Craig, well, look. Well, my sincere apologies. I thought about it. I was like, I can't believe I didn't at least let you know.
Oh well, Eddie, you have no obligation. I'm just pleased when you have time to work it in your schedule and share with me your thoughts and what's going on in the world. I think this collaborative effort is very cool. Were you paying attention earlier? This is all about election, this program, because in just a few days we're going to have it. So I've got a lot of information, and maybe I'd like your spin on what's going on here a little bit.
Well, mixed bag. I feel like gosh, where do I start? I feel like that we're about to see the first female president of the United States of America.
That would be great.
I think a lot of us have trauma from 2016. And I think if you look at the numbers and the fact that he has not won one election cycle since 2016, it has been one loss after another. The majority of the candidates that he backs over the last since 2016, whatever 8 years it is now, have lost.
Yeah, they have all their probation officers they need to report and stuff.
Right. So I honestly believe that we're going to be just fine. And the women and the numbers, I feel like the numbers are on our side. The math is on our side. I think kids have woken up to a lot of the nonsense that is this Supreme Court decision on Dobbs, and I think we're going to be okay. I hold, I hold to hope. I'm not expecting any surprises. I'm not, you know what I'm going to be doing on election night, by the way, Craig? I will not be sitting in front of my television set. I'm going to be watching a live taping of Mid-Century Modern, which is a new sitcom starring Matt Bomer, and
was invited to go do that, and I just there's no way I could do it. I was invited by Mario, my friend.
I'm going on Tuesday, and I'm going on election night.
Well, say hello to Mario if he's there.
Yeah. So it's Nathan Lane, Matt Bomer, and Linda Lavin star in this new sitcom. It's being directed by the legendary director James Burrows, who did Taxi and Cheers and Friends and Frasier and Will and Grace. He is legendary. I've just finished reading his book. Sorry, I'm almost finished reading his book, and it is so good. The stories are fantastic. It's called Directed by James Burrows. I highly recommend it. He's got such great stories in there about having worked with some of these amazing actors who weren't really all that big before they found their way to one of his shows, which I'm just excited. I'm going to bring a copy of the book. I'm going to beg him to sign it for me, and I'm going to totally fangirl out. I'm ready. I have no shame. I have no shame.
I think that's good to get to no shame in your life.
What do I got to lose, Craig? What do I got to lose?
Exactly. I mean, I must have forgot a sheet of stuff I wanted to talk about here.
Anyway, as far as the election is concerned, sorry, I totally went off on a because I was talking about election night. I am a little concerned. Like, can you give me a little bit of clarity? Have you done any of the research on Prop 33 and Prop 34?
No. Oh, for California?
Yeah, it's the California thing. I'm a little. So this guy that founded AHF, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, used to do a lot of good for a lot of people, and now there's all this like question. There's these questions that are surrounding him, and he's like, obviously worth a bazillion dollars now. And it's kind of his bill, but there's also this like thing on 34. There's also this other thing that's Prop 34. It's all very confusing. I encourage everyone to read thoroughly and do all of their homework. I cannot and will not have an opinion yet. I have yet to do my research on it myself, but I have heard some rumblings of not so fast, because apparently Prop 33 would repeal something that's already on the books that's very helpful for renters. So just do your homework. Everyone do your homework.
Well, yeah, I think I saw a friend of mine recommended no on it, and yes. The ASF said that they support the no, is what I understood. So
AHF said that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. I did vote, and I don't remember what I voted. That's terrible on that. The 33 and 34. I do remember toiling over it, and I had to change it once or twice on a couple of them. But anyway, it's a done deal. I think you can go, I guess, can you go look at what you voted on online? I don't
know.
Well, when I did the Dropbox, I think I explained, if you've signed up, if you're registered and they have your email, they will send you a confirmation that they received your ballot, and then they'll send you a second confirmation that they accepted your ballot. So, which is very different. So I got my acceptance. I've been accepted.
Correct. You've always been accepted.
So if you're doing the drop-off thing and you have your email with the register of voters, then you will get a notification that they received it, which is really a good thing.
It is a good thing. It is a very good thing. Very good.
Yeah. So I something flew through my brain here about I wanted to ask Eddie. So so you did the doggy thing. What's going on in LA regarding on voting day? Is there anything going on, or is there?
There's nothing. I haven't seen anything, and I haven't heard any of the tribal drums beating with regards to celebrations happening in West Hollywood. I don't think that, honestly, Craig, I don't think we're going to have an answer on election night.
No, it'll be Wednesday at the earliest, and it might be a week later. I think I went on. Did you see Kamala on Saturday Night Live?
I loved everything about that so much.
Oh my God. I loved it too. And she took a joke, they threw punches at her, and she just smiles and goes on. And then I love that I don't know the actress's name that portrays her.
Maya. Oh God, Maya. What's her last name?
She did that.
Oh, she's so good.
And then Kama goes, "Do I really laugh like that?" She goes, "Oh well, yeah, somewhat, yeah." So she was cool with poking fun at herself, which I think was great. So if you haven't seen it, go
good
on YouTube for free. You can go watch. Just dial in or search Saturday Night Live, and it's out
Maya
there.
Rudolph. Maya Rudolph is the one that does her.
Oh.
She's so good. She does such a great job impersonating. It's crazy. She's got the voice down, and it's insane.
Yeah. No, I'm glad she was. I was surprised. I was glad she was on there. She has time to do all of these, and she says, "I'm about opening doors."
I'm about opening doors.
And she goes and made fun of. Anyway, I digress. But so and I don't want. I don't want to have too much emotional involvement in it, because then if it's not everything I want, I don't want to be, unhappy about it, but it is what it is,
Yeah.
But I do think some very key people, Roger Moore, he's convinced that it's going to be Kamala.
There seems to be. I think it's going to be shocking. I honestly don't think that there would be the kind of insane messaging that has been coming out of the other side over the last several days. That isn't a party that is trying to reach towards the middle where they need to get the undecideds. That's a party that is just doubling down on all their crap and just burning it to the ground. And I think he's going to get a lot nuttier in the next few days. And I think that's a sign of desperation. I think that's what a malignant narcissist does. They just kind of implode.
Wow.
They explode, then they implode.
Also, I would temper it with this, is that he's willing to do just about anything, because he's looking at serious jail time.
Yes.
If he's not in there. And with that, it's kind of like the criminal that says, "You're not taking me alive,"
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think it's kind of funny and ironic in a way that now we have Biden is in the White House still. I mean, he will be the president until the new one's sworn in January 20th, and he has all kinds of powers now. Thank you, Supreme Court. Thank you very much, Supreme Court.
His little mind was like, well, what could he do with all that power?
Oh, anything he wants to, as long as it's within his presidential duties, And anything he has to do to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, which is the oath he swore.
Yeah.
And he can do whatever he wants to. And that Joe Biden, don't count him out. He may be old, but he is not having any of that bullshit. He's just not. Ooh, I said BS. Is that okay?
I don't know on that one. It's kind of a gray area, but I can't.
We're not going to be. Craig, I wanted to ask you, did you know that I couldn't find the live stream on Facebook? I was usually listening to you and I could not find it. I don't know if you're live streaming right now.
No, I'm live streaming to YouTube.
Yeah. We're big on YouTube. That's so exciting.
I don't know if I could do it both, but it's YouTube, so people can leave comment, but I'm not looking at YouTube, so if someone leaves a comment, I can't respond to it.
Oh, well,
the way it's set up here,
That's very exciting. Gosh, we've moved. Is this the inaugural? Is this the inaugural YouTube live stream?
No, I did it by myself without you, Vu, last week. So, but I recorded also. So what I can do is post it whenever I want to and edit it. I can edit that little.
So what are Craig, back to the election? I mean, I guess we're just going to keep talking about. So first of all, how do you feel about these 2-year election cycles we now are living in, this reality where we start basically presidential elections start 2 years before? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing for the country?
Well, maybe it needs to be, because people will be more sensitive to what the people want.
Okay. So you think it's okay? You think it's okay that candidates start campaigning 2 years before a presidential election?
I think they could start. They're always campaigning, but they could start whenever they want. I do think that what needs to happen is the funding needs to be more transparent. Whoever the candidate is, and I think there's so much dark money on both sides that all needs to go away. I know I left some papers at home, because I listed how much money the Trump administration made while he was in office versus Biden administration.
Yeah.
And that was very interesting. But no,
interesting, Craig, or horrific?
No, it was pretty horrific.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Biden has always shown his income tax, and he made last year $640,000 his last filing, and it's always been out there, so you can see it. And anyway, that's a good thing. But I was as you were talking about, what do I think? I think a couple of things that I find interesting is that more people are voting in advance, and I think that is great. Why should it all happen on the one day? Voting in advance to me is important. Like give it 2 weeks, and also make voting day a holiday. I mean, we're going to have Columbus Day, know, and
I totally agree.
Should be a holiday, maybe a paid day off for everyone. I don't know, but that's the second thing, and make it really easy for everyone to vote.
I agree.
Accessibility, whether they have a ID or not, they can have IDs. I'm just kind of on the fence about that, but make it easy for everyone to vote. I thought you were going to talk about every 2 years they have the midterms, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, no, for myself, only in this country do they start with their craziness and their campaigning and their rallies and their crap 2 years before the election. It's like, I just wanted to, I would just like it to be over. I think I speak for the majority of the country, whether you lean right or left, you just want it to be over.
No, I actually think the UK recently went through what we're going through.
Oh yeah, and not just UK. There were other countries in the European Union.
Even Little Laguna Beach a couple of years ago in City Council had a very negative situation with one particular council member that put him. I don't want to say the sex, but that person at odds with city council, and it became very, very negative and a lot of mudslinging and very unpleasant things tossed back and forth, which was disgusting. But it was what was going on in the country on some level. And so fortunately, the city council has survived that, and it's back to a more civil discourse as opposed to uncivil discourse, and I think maybe there's hopefully that's what's going to happen on the national level now. Not that the Laguna Beach had anything to do with it, but yeah, I think it has hit on many levels, whether it's the school boards and who's on the Unified School District board of directors to our county board of directors. That's all gone back and forth, yelling and screaming. And I think what you're saying and what I feel is that we're just weary of all this. That when it's just so negative. And I do think that the United States is a wonderful country. It has the strongest economy in the world. It's leading the world in so many ways, and should be, as who said recently, that the shining beacon at the top of the hill for all people, and we need to get back to that civility things get done, work gets done, votes get, or Congress does their job, and it's not about political posturing. It's about doing things for the people. I do think there's a lot of work to be done, tons of work to be done. I do think there's way too many regulations some that are outdated and inappropriate, and no one does any housekeeping to get rid of them or straighten them out.
I agree with that. Yes, absolutely.
And particularly with housing, the two things you really, really need to have, transportation and housing, have suffered because you have to have them and everyone wants to take advantage of them. And I think that's what's happening. You know, I don't know if anyone realizes, but there's so many apartments and condos and houses that these big corporations are buying up so that they can rent them and
drive up prices.
And that's what's happening. And there's no safeguard on that. Not that you should come in and regulate it but you should, it should be an SEC, Securities Exchange kind of thing, where you have to be fair and equitable to everyone, and to corner the market on it is not, it's un-American. So here we have two things we need: transportation, which has suffered terribly. I'm speaking public transportation, and our highway system and all that, which is coming back around. It's not nearly where it needs to be, but it's made a great start and great progress, in my opinion. And housing, and I still want to start an artist colony with a studio, a sound studio, and in a large warehouse out in California City. I just think that would be so great. And you can set it up so you have a sales office where you can buy your tiny home, and you and have it shipped there, and we'll help and where all the regulations are all the state, county, and federal regulations are streamlined, which is what the new administration says they want to do, is streamline the approval process. I do think a lot of the rules and protections need to be there, but the process of getting approval is where the bottleneck is. It's like in Laguna Beach. You want to build a house. Well, you have to go before the city and get approval. And then there's the historic and the preservation committee. There's the what is it? The Coastal Commission. And all these other entities. It reminds me when I was made a sales call up in Malibu, and I was at this beautiful home, and next door was a home that obviously they'd started construction on it, and it hadn't been worked on for a long time. And I was saying to the homeowners I was talking to, and they explained that the house had been started 8 or 10 years ago, and it came to a stop when they had some permit issues. And for those last 8 years, they've been trying and spending thousands and thousands of dollars to get the permits that they need. And part of it is, you get a permit from the city, and they says, okay, you got to go now before the historical commission, or preservation, I should say. And I'm just saying, I don't know all these things for sure, but I know this is part of what happens. Well, they don't meet every week or every day. They meet once a month, and so you go there and you missed a dot or a T, cross a T on your form. So, well, you got to come back next month. Okay, or you got to fix this and come back next month. Right. And you want to go, well, why didn't you tell me about everything I need to fix the first time? Well, because you had to change this to fix this, we can't tell you that you can't, So that process goes on and on and on, and to expedite it. And then there's this issue of how many people are staffed to handle the applications, and the city has to pay for it. I know an individual here was so frustrated with the process that they agreed to donate $100,000 to the city to hire another planner so that it could speed up the process, and the city declined it, which I think, there were various reasons back and forth, but I think it was an honorable thing. Accept it and show no prejudice. That's what should happen. I mean, they were all worried, well, they're going to show prejudice if they accept this money. No, it's just going to, whoever's hired just going to get the job done a little faster for everyone, not just that one person, but for everyone. So I do think that I've gone way on too long about that stuff.
Oh,
but
my
housing.
God.
So
I barely noticed.
So we're going to start a little artist colony out in the Mojave Desert in California City, where the temperature is mild. It's got cold at night and warm in the afternoon.
California City, where is that, Craig? I can't.
It's about 70 miles, maybe about 90 miles northeast direction from LA, out in the Mojave Desert. And
oh my goodness.
It was developed, I don't know, it was in the 70s, I think, a developer started it, and all the streets are laid out, all the utilities are figured out, and they sold a bunch of lots, and then many people just abandoned them because the infrastructure never showed up. But now there's about 18 or there's probably 22 or 30,000 people live there.
Oh, okay.
But it's a huge, great community for development. It's all laid out and designed. And the new mayor that's there comes from construction, and he's very, very supportive of development. And
now I want to go see it.
And so you should go to the city council page and read about him. And so I thought, well, if I had the wherewithal, I'd reach out to him and and say, hey, because I do think if we do have a new female president, that there will be programs forthcoming to assist in housing. And if you get that set up as part of it, so you get the affordable tiny homes.
Yes, those are cute.
There, and we got the financing and the program for affordable housing. And so many people work remotely now. Something else they're doing out there, they're doing a virtual port, like Long Beach Port.
Yes.
Well, they have a backlog of containers stacked up, and they have to sort them out. It's like you have a warehouse room, and you got so much crap in it, you can't figure out where everything is, and it takes forever to get it sorted out and on its way. That's kind of what's happening at Long Beach. So they want to create a port, an inland port, where a lot of the containers go directly over ground, but by rail, and they're sorted. It's kind of like a clearinghouse for Walmart, I guess. It's a warehouse where all the product and all the containers are sorted out and sent on their way. So that's another thing that's happening there too. It's got a lot of positive things going on there.
I'm just looking at the website, and they're hiring for, they're trying to build the city. So they're hiring for police department, management, housing, finance, fire department, public works, parks and recreation, golf course department. They're hiring all these,
They recently terminated some very high paying positions there in the city and kind of cleaned it up. There was some, overpaid. Anyway, yeah. So that's my next project. I think I go from project to project.
I love it.
Yeah.
What do you
have? A few minutes. We have about 3 or 4 minutes left. So,
well, I just want to say to the over 200,000 people who descended upon Palm Springs Pride this year, happy Pride. I hope you guys are having a great time out there. I don't know. Well, obviously, our radio waves don't reach there, but maybe someone's listening or watching us on YouTube. Hope you're having a great time. The parade has just wrapped up. Or actually, no, the parade is still going on. It's going to be going on till, noon. So it might run a little bit later. It's today, 10 a.m. to noon. If you were out last night at my friend's party, the Madonna Summer Party, which is the Donna Summer and Madonna mashup party at Oscars last night, I hope you had a great time. They had about 300 people dancing their A's off. And it was a fun time. They ended up with quite a few people. The weather was favorable. It was cool at night, and nice. It was warm during the day, and I think they had a great time out there. And I know a lot of people descended on the city. I know friends of mine who came last minute on a whim, flew in from Miami because they wanted to check it out. So
I know an organization out there. Well, I don't know if it's exactly, but it's called GAY, Great Autos, GA of Yesteryear, and a lot of their vehicles, those convertibles you see, those classic cars in the parade, they're Great Autos of Yesteryear. It's a really fun group. They've been around for years and years, and it's not a bunch of old folks. It's all ages and all, some people have all kinds of cars. But anyway, Great Autos of Yesteryear. Shout out. Anyway, Eddie, I hope we have our fundraiser coming up here. And I was wondering if you might be available to be my on-air guest for an hour on the 13th from 3 to 4, I believe it is.
The 13th, what's the date?
It's a Thursday.
I could do that. Thursdays are a good day for me.
Well, and we got to raise money, so we got to ask people to.
The 13th is a Wednesday, Craig.
Well, then it's the 14th.
Okay. At what time?
I've forgotten if it's 4 to 5 or 3 to 4. I can't remember.
Well, you send me an invitation, sir. I will be there. I will be there for you. I will.
Oh my, Eddie, you are wonderful. I love you, and I'm. It's so nice to have you dial in.
I love and adore you.
Your hot dog event last weekend, and I'm glad you got more dog food than you know what to do with.
Well, we donated it to the shelter. Please, if you're listening, Sparky and the gang, they've got such cute doggies there that looking for foster homes or permanent homes, but they're so cute. They got some Frenchies there. They've got some little terrier mixes. Sorry,
is that in Long Beach?
It's in Long Beach. Yes, Sparky and the gang.
Sparky and the gang, and they home pets.
They do. They have some sweet doggies there. My niece Magali, she volunteers there often and always keeps me updated on the new arrivals and just how adorable they are. So please help those babies get out of there and have a little home.
All right, Eddie. Thanks again for tuning in and all the news that's fit to be broadcasted here on Rainbow Radio. Hopefully next week we'll have a very positive, uplifting conversation.
It's gonna be a party. It's gonna be a party, Craig. We're gonna have such a good time next week.
We'll give it our best. God bless you. God bless the United States of America and all her people. And thank you for tuning in today, all my guests on Rainbow Radio. We'll be back next week with updates on what happens this week, and it should be a monumental,
very exciting
update. Again, thanks again. We're out of here on go out and carpe diem, enjoy the day. It's one of those days. Don't worry. Be happy.
Be happy.
Be happy.
Bye, Craig. Bye, everybody.
Love you all. Bye-bye.
Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy.